All right,
Please.
I want to introduce our first featured reader. I believe this is his first time reading for Cap, so give him a warm welcome. And remember to mute yourselves when he gets started. David Applebaum is the founder of Cod Hill Press, has served time in the university as well as in publishing. Former editor of Parabola magazine. He's the author of Everyday Spirits from SUNY Press, Notes on Water from Monkfish, and most recently, Portuguese Sailor Boy and the Collector of Lapsed Time, both Black Spring Publishing Group. David Applebaum, everybody give him a warm caps welcome. David, it's all yours.
Hey. Yeah, I'm really delighted to be here. I have the distinct feeling of being the new guy on the block. So thank you for the very warm welcome. I'm going to start off reading from a volume of mine that just came out about a month or so ago. See if you can see it here. Manon the Magnificent, which is one of the 4 volumes of work that kept me sane during the COVID years. Manon, Grand Manan is a little island about an hour and a half off the coast of New Brunswick in the Bay of Fundy. Great tides, and the whole place is quite of another time. Manon the Magnificent is, you could say, an attempt to capture the living sense of the place in the person of some unnamed heroine that appears now and again in the storyline. So I'm going to read a couple of these and go on, try to read from one or the other volumes of my COVID years. This is By Whale Cove. Brown leaves crispate on salt-stricken potato plants, now dung-fired clay fists. August. A noon sun short on patience and shadow focuses on heat. Dust beneath is less soil, more a reactive element unready to comply. A girl watches from behind a tree. She watches a long time as leaves wilt, desiccated. This is how you find feeling when earth is let linger, when leaves fall dead. Maybe that was she as a young woman. Here's something more in midlife, the garden. There's something I want to say to you. All day he thinks this thought. When evening comes with drinks, he forgets. She returns to a house picked clean of words. He shaves. It takes an hour for him to recognize the man again. The soil in their small garden waits for him like a woman. It washes his rough hands as they burrow below roots into the sharp gravel. Under a hot sun that entrusts them to one another, he must sweat morning through, or else there would be only words he has omitted saying. Instead, that grunt augments the shovel's claim against rock. Heated air wraps him in a straitjacket, as if to keep his dread at bay. Though earth in his palm stays cool, that it refuses to let him tend its fertile root. He has knelt several hours, knees barked among wilting stalks that won't know harvest. A breeze soughs, then it is suddenly cold. The sun, old and weak, is gone. Earth has turned its back on him. Now there are bonfires and putting by a finger on his lips to mute the mind. Each day is spent owning his words, sterile intentions that mark where love is cast. She fixes him bitter coffee for morning. It leaves his mouth burned the whole day. This is later on in life, the clothesline. Rain or shine, her dresses hang on the clothesline, lofting, sinking. The way her life airs out, always washed, folded, pressed flat, starched as though their cleanliness brought pleasure enough to sail through weeks on a breeze. You learn stains aren't doomsday. All manner of things can be made new again. When we meet by the gate, we're bathed in the smell of laundry soap. Joys of wash day have her humming a jingle from some silly ad. These are times of happiness. Clothespins lined all in a row, sheets scraping freshly cut lawn, raising clipping, wind enough to dry the load. As if goodness washed with care could last forever. Wind turns harsh, garments flat on the horizontal. Clothespins must be plucked from muck in too early dark. No longer dried by a weak sun, dresses must be carried inside. A wood rat, overburdened, stoops at the stove. In snow that climaxes weeks of rain, daylight is barely able to drain wash water from bed sheets hung rigid like cardboard. When wind rises, they barely move, and when they do, it's with the deliberateness of a ship that plowing icy waters leaves no wake. What comes to pass is bereft of signs. Sun rises with renewed energy. Songbirds nest in still bare trees. Frozen earth blooms, puddles into which her sheets dip, become log, threaten to drag down the line. This seems normal. Old people gather anew to keep vigil for the ferry, while young men load in shirt sleeves without hats, hopeful for some spice to which young blood aspires. We're back in the atmosphere of her watch, stretching, searching for our voices on winter mute. They need special cues after weeks in isolation. She has a new set of plastic pens. In her hand, they look like colored pencils. On the clothesline, they make a rainbow, a spectrum from night dresses to tea towels. Sheets are patched, some skirts have hems that sag, letting bright fabric show through. Winter has a run to finish, but she hangs a full load so the young sun will never dry. Stiffness is in her hands. Bringing fabric, she feels a chill down her spine. Her favorite house coat is in tatter. Regardless, a wind will lift it into the gray rain. It will drape stove side when she leaves for work. What is my time, Mike? How much?
You got another 15 minutes. Go for it.
Oh, great. This is almost a sister book to Lennon. It came out last year, entitled The Glass Eye. It also attempts to give a life trajectory by assembling fragments, sometimes an observation, and sometimes a little episode, sometimes more reflective. The Guardian. Honesty, a good life. Sample hopes weighed by my guardian angel. I asked for a place. I learned to feel homeless. I asked for peace. I was provided with strife, struggle, and grief, pretending to be someone else. How did I believe she heard me? Distractedly. Though an ear keen for slips that parse clever meaning, as though she was my adversary in her aim to teach humility. Angels, I felt, were masters at words. Didn't their name mean messenger? My feelings as a boy, hidden, obverse, disabled, were kneaded, leavened with the belief suffering oneself left us open to others who felt the same. Veterans whose wounds we shared with tried patience of lovers. A child's fear made life simple, a global battle for goodness about which my diamond would discuss, retract, or lecture me on language. Daytime reveries taught how to point my words, correcting ambivalence. How precise in voice they grew. Poignant, assertive, yet clueless. If I was a neurotic freighted with issues, it was a madness divine. By night, the moon's phases that philosophers read. On the earth, terra lucida, I sought enlightened beings who walked in disguise. I found none. Coldness of lessons, days heavy in counsel, nights equally active, save rests between holy words. I didn't pray. And
Absolutely fantastic, Dave.
I want to finish this wonderful time together with a piece from Collector of Lapsed Times. in a certain way, my reflections on my life in the 60s, definitely a collection of elegies. This is Saigon. An intuition takes hold. Now you are gone. You have no name you can give. Who whispers half thoughts in my ear you do not finish? Are you writing? Taking hold of the pen. I don't remember who asks the question. The glossy matchbook from a collection reflects your face. I see in you the tranquility of a child. Sun drapes your skin, cicadas and ivy, a bench by the river that flows in a quiet mine. From the old water, the temple of literature, stone turtles by the wall of the heavenly clarity. You made a wish before consigning the poem to water. In hell, smell is a talisman. From a single match in the book to a burning city, chemical fire, fire of hell, infernal fire does not singe a sleeve. Soldiers from the jungle hose the slow river unto flames. Water cannot extinguish pain. Persistence of smoke occludes remembrance. Souls lose way in the maze of solitude. The conflagration is by choice. I see you down at Heman, as in an allegory, hole-in-the-wall restaurants, drinking tea at the end of which we sit in the Chu Chai tunnels, refuge from bombs, fanning for miles under the countryside, fragrance of vetiver. There you are mixed with ghosts, indigenous invaders, and become one yourself, a gauzy streak of camouflage paint on an old weapons cache. On one wall was painted Plath. Your sister came to hunt for you. She hadn't heard of your poem. Visiting the French Basilica, she lit a candle using one of your matchbooks and disappeared into the river. For souls who sleep without any rest. In the spring, I went with you to the War Remnants Museum. We saw the tiger pages and an exhibit on Agent Orange, which we rubbed onto your skin. It was a way I knew you were no longer alive. At the ordnance display, you said, we do not know why bombs kill. Everything is rebuilt here. By faith, creation follows destruction. Bright storefronts, tourists in blue jean, jasmine along the riverbank. Defeated my asthma only in the dusk of monsoon. Infernal smell, a millennia of rain will not dissolve and not come close. I sat with coffee on a bench. Stray dogs patrol for handout. I count phantoms who crowd the Hem not caring the living see them, inhaling smoke from dull logs that darkens their translucent bodies. The dead, having no knowledge of contingency, believe they are alive. Thank you.
I think that was a wonderful Caps debut. David, thank you so much. Everybody,
Wow.
David, everybody unmute yourself. Say a few kind words.
Wow. 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 David,
Brilliant. Fantastic.
great. Absolutely smashing. I hope you can see the chat area of Zoom. People were quoting you back to yourself endlessly. So many original fine lines and beautiful turns of phrase, almost unprecedented for me. Just absolutely beautiful work, Dave.
Thank you all for your ears and your thoughts. It makes the words come alive.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, Mike.
David, as I mentioned earlier in his bio, he founded Cod Hill Press, which has been one of the longer running presses here in the Hudson Valley. He's published several people who have been here for Caps, the late Paulina Yugmanovich, Larry Carr, several other people. So thank you for that, David, and thanks for coming to Caps. All right, our next open mic, jumping the gun. Our next featured reader, we have not heard from Seth Harris. So, Michael, if you got an extra piece you want to read, go right ahead and do it. Michael Mackin O'Mara publishes Soul Flow Pojo, South Florida Poetry Journal, with a close group of friends. Michael is published in a number of online and print anthologies and journals. His work can be found at www.michaelmackino'mara.com. Like I said earlier, some of you weren't here. He did a great reading with Amanda on Sunday for the Palm Beach Poets. So, Michael, you're up, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to Caps. Thank you for my dear friends for showing up. It's always great to see y'all in the audience. Um, when Mike talked about what dates were available for this year, I picked today kind of selfishly, in that in the HIV/AIDS community, this is Long-Term Survivors Day, which is a strange sort of day to observe, but it gives me a chance to talk about some of the people that are gone, and I think that's what survivors are supposed to do. They're supposed to keep the memory alive of the folks that didn't make it. So I've got a bunch of poems here, and send up flares if they get too morbid. Let's begin. In the South Pacific, there are cyclones or typhoons. For Nelson, 1950 to 1990. Googling you, you're on the Harvard Medical In Memoriam page. Your name, class, date, nothing more. And I remember the sharpness of your eyes, the timbre of your voice, your perfected body. From Hawaii, you said, but Polynesian, and from then on you were Rapa Nui Maui, wrapped in nautilus pearl, your amber agate smoothed over proud armor. And I remember your awkward kiss, your lightning smile, you're getting down to business. Med student, triathlete, bromeliad king, I remember where we met and later moments among your residency hours, your 20K runs, your 2-mile swims, moments in books and gardens and cafes after demolishing me on the tennis court, hushed moments on the trundle bed in your rented room, a jealousy deficiency off your aunt's bungalow, or the dark movie theater where you still couldn't hold my hand. I don't do, you whispered with a slight laugh, romance. And I remember that was that. I kept your Cavafy inscribed from the man who'd left. The last time I saw you back with your jock bro, I wished you well, though not out loud. Diagramming sentences, 1989. Distance collapses. No, it's time collapsing. Douglas is again in the hospital. Did he call? Did the hospital call? Oh, please, hospitals don't call. I drive the hour because I remember to bring music and forget to play it. Imaginary conversations, practice conversations, worst case conversations. What am I hoping for? Eloquence? They dress me like a spaceman. From Abbott and Costello go to Mars. I'm surprised they let me in, I say. I think they think I'm dying, he says. He wears their prognosis like their much laundered gown. They have frightened him, but they don't know him. I decide he is not dying, not yet, because don't I get to decide these things? I should stay, I think, but the workaday world. I should stay longer, though he will not ask. Still, I see it in his eyes. You'd think there'd be more to say when death is in the room. I remove my face shield, my mask, my gloves, and cradle his hand. He looks down at the bedding. When he looks up, he wears the gentlest smile. From there, our words lighten. These doctors, he says. I'm going back to California. I've never been, I say. I know, he scolds. Dvorak's New World blares, going home. This is the second poem for the same person, my friend Doug. The Lost Canoe for Douglas, 1957, 1993. I can't remember how or when we met. I know it was in college, and I remember you in a couple of decades in at least 3 or 4 different towns. We were the weed-smoking, shroom-brewing, long hairs canoeing, the Hillsborough, Ochlochnany, the Loxahatchee, slam-dancing clubs that were desperately chasing anarchy. You mainlined Richard Hell and polystyrene and giant ants from space, and found us the too much for my mirror girl who dubbed you Douglet and preferred her brew poured over our heads to drinking it. We came from Planet Claire while we cruised the hills of Tally, a murder of us in your dad's discarded Newport coupe. In time, we lost both Sly and Anka, the only time I saw you cry, and donned the 3-button suit of Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You led me by the rope around my throat, back from the unnatural disasters of my quaking mind. That night, you asked, what happens when we die? Oh, that's easy, I said. The universe cradles our atoms, forever apologizing for the rippling cause and effect we'll never comprehend. You lead me to cold sun, pink breath on still water, gray that steeps as deeply into river as into sky. Author's note. When someone asks what happens when we die, shut up and hold them. Okay, so like I put the timer on and I forgot to start it. So good Lord. Hold on. It's so sad. It's just so sad. It's wonderful being 70. I never thought I'd be 70. When I first encountered of our of our 3 score years and 10, I had no expectation. For the dear one who said I put AIDS in their ear. For one panicked moment, I believed you. Believed within a pillar of fear, doubt, loathing, the cries for yet another Devil's Island. Oh, beautiful one, I understand fear. Do you understand the luxury of loneliness? You, destined for other arms and other rooms. The priest shall pronounce them unclean. All the days shall they be unclean, and they shall dwell alone outside the encampment, and they in whom the plague is, their clothes shall be rent, head bare, face veiled, and shall cry out to all approach, unclean, unclean. How easy it is in this life of fiction to fit someone with an iron mask in yet another Tinseltown remake, where Leviticus meets Dumas, Hollywood circa 1936 meets Playbill, Boys at Bent, Angels in America, Rent meets Alphabet Maladies, Alphabet Drugs meets Silence equals Death. Mouths paralyzed in endless threnodies. But are you clean? Clean? Are you clean? Prisoners of our blood, guardians of our body fluids. Unclean we cry, unclean. I had a friend who survived for the longest time with absolutely no immune system, just no immune system, whatever. And when I would talk to him, he would say, I was traveling again last night. He was so little of him left in the body that he did not feel in any way restrained by the body. When he went into a coma, I was lying in bed. I had no news about his health, but all of a sudden, there was a tapestry on the wall, and all the gold threads in the tapestry began to glow, to shine. And the tapestry was red burgundy with gold stars, suns, and moons. So you got this whole universe glowing on the damn wall. And I'm laying there saying, should I be afraid? And of course, my friends know I've been in this woo-woo, spiritualist, mystical foolishness my whole life. So I'm laying there going, no, no, I know who this is. I believe I know who this is. So this is a poem from my friend Bobby. Dreams in Black and White for Bobby, 1966, 2002. It begins with a quote from Baudelaire. Your memory shines in me like the sacrament. My friend, you're dying. Oh, not like the rest of us who think we're dying every day. Each day the warden walks you through a darkened hall, each evening in stark shadow, while the sweep hand of the large white-faced clock lurches second by second, as it does in every film noir. The Reverend Father, mea culpas. Through each sedated night, you wait. There's a mob at your door. They clamor like passbook holders in a Potterville bank run. They wish to cash in your promises. That's like the 80s all over again. And your room's gone retro and tighter than studio. And since we can't pass the doorman's velvet rope, we find ourselves in extended, imaginary conversations, where each moment, real or imagined, dissected, re-edited, frame by frame, replayed forward and back like time-lapse sunrise, all around you. As they wake to the moment, are lost in rerun expectations of every Dr. McHeartthrob who ever glared intently at a test tube raised between thumb and forefinger, while from across his forehead beads of perspiration tick, tick, tick like a relentless clock. They quarter your doctor till his god mask breaks. Birth hopes for a doctor savior with his godhead intact. In this dream, you are the priest, reciting the last rite. In a gold-lined pouch next to your heart, you hold the last Eucharist. In a crucible, the blessed oil. With your thumb, you smudge the sign of salvation across my brow. In this dream, we weave a tale of spirit souls swimming a violet sky. In this dream, when you say you are ready, I whisper, take me with you. And for a time, it seems you do.
Beautiful, beautiful,
Bless you.
so beautiful. Hi.
There's more, is there not?
I needed to take a drink, but yes, I will go on. Thank you, Ken. A four-letter word for regret. For Rule 1955 to 2011. There's a conventional obit format for double-lived offspring who predecease their parents, offspring who somehow elude, evade being kicked to the curb, disowned, disfellowshipped, etc. The obit contains the parents' names, of course, lists of siblings, nibblings, godchildren, and endures a beloved dog, followed by your resume, followed by the details of a service in your parents' hometown, and the promise of another at a later unspecified date. In whatever locale you lived your other, not mentioned life. A town far enough removed, you thought, for kisses, cuddles, sunbaths au natural on a thrift store double-ringed quilt, on a rock outcropping, on a skinny dipping lake. The next time I see you, you whisper, I sunburned my penis. I laugh because you say penis rather than any of the nicknames you normally use when we discuss your male member. It's burnt and peeling, you say, with insistent emotion. And I make you show me, because how many times do you get to see that? Reddened foreskin shedding like the snake it is, tender, newborn. I'll kiss it and make it better. You reflexively react to protect your junk. This is where, smiling wistfully, or with vague irony, and a glaze of eye water, I might murmur, I should have married you. But what's the point of that? Let my crow heart caw from our lightning-struck tree beside our lake, deep, sparkling, clear. I should have married you, but I didn't.
Wow.
The wonderful thing about poetry is the extent to which poems are always telling me my future before I even have the slightest idea. I wrote this before I knew why I was infected, before I knew what was coming. It's one of my kind of slant ekphrastics. It borrows a little from a film without really using much of the film. Au revoir, les enfants. The vision, Saint someone among the lepers arrests. We once again posit the holiness of beauty. We never say word one because we never say word one. We battle Lech and Lear, and no, we take a bullet for him. We stand and wait. The words are meaningless and easy. We create a reason to touch. It's so high school. And if we could, we'd never leave. In the eternity of the moment, we know that youth is beauty, beauty, youth. We know too that it's now. The Gestapo crashes through the wall. And though we think while we cradle and rock that we are safe from the movies, we have yet to account for our imaginations. In the eternity of the moment recollected, we fear liberties taken. In the eternity of the moment receding. I should find something a little uplifting to end on. I have to scroll way to the end of the book for that. Another strange ekphrastic. This will be my last poem. Fugue states at the multiplex. If you wake in New Jersey and can't remember how. In these genres, men of a certain age, my age, are villains or fools. We've had our Tadzio days, though before he died, Tadzio claimed, had he known what he knows now, he wouldn't have, even for Visconti. In her later years, my mother retold old films as though they were her life. Atticus, her father, her flight from Morocco, the house at Mandalay, and nearly every Cary Grant film ever made. Have my dead brought me here. We met at 9, we met at 8. I was on time, no, you were late. My dead smile at such foolery. What good has memory done? Here an unhappy angel in a long dark winter coat echoes, I can't see you, but I know you're here. My petty crimes convict. Whether one saints me or genays me, that too is for the shortest while. White-faced in the circus of love, accustomed to these solitudes, this fugue of years and days. If you wake over Lakehurst to a sky puking flames, where the Hindenburg meets Death in Venice and Wings of Desire, flickering black between frames, a sudden glaring light, where we are all mutually driven, where it falls to a stranger to ghostwrite my book of memories, and some of them are happy. Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic, Michael. Absolutely fantastic.
Bravo, Mike.
So much goodness.
What a combination of David and Michael and David. Wow, it felt like the meeting of the Titans this evening. Truly, yeah.
In the classical sense.
Well, in the sense that was both of their warm-up acts, and now let's see what they bring on. Absolutely.
Yeah. I invite everyone to open and keep open chat, because so many comments and so much is shared there as we all listen. Mike, we can't hear you. Yeah, we can you go down to audio, to the little caret sign pointing up next to audio, and select specifically an alternative audio?
How about that?
That's working.
Why did it change? I haven't done any.
It was all that remarkable last minute fix-ups you did for the live Zoom and
Michael, thank you so much, buddy. David, thank you so much. I can't express how great this has been. And I know Seth is going to make it, put the cherry on top. Seth, you ready, buddy?
Yes, I am.
All right, let me do your bio and take it from there, pal.
Sounds good.
Poet, performer, producer, creative writer, and instructor Gregory Seth Harris has been collaborating with poets, musicians, actors, dancers, and other creative artists for more than 30 years. He has been the driving force behind numerous award-winning and critically acclaimed productions. A writer of poetry and fictions, Seth also coordinates and facilitates performance arts projects, as well as teaches poetry, creative writing, acting, and performance poetry workshops to both children and adults. His published books include The Perfect Stranger and The Black Odyssey. Not Seth's first time here with Caps, but a really great evening ahead. Go for it, my man.
All right. I'm going to start with a poem titled Atom Adam. Actually, that's not what I'm going to start with. I decided to change at the last minute. This poem is titled Ode to Great Ghosts. When I gaze into a melancholy sky, one blanketed in gray, the sun a dingy stain in a smoke-sooted ceiling, I fret not the frigid wind, the oblique slash of rain, the gnawing termites at my soul's bones, and neither do I sigh as I watch sad rivers of traffic belch at stoplights or managers dangling in neckties. One tear only do I spare for missiles saluting like soldiers, stern, resolute, obedient to push-button orders. Man is a failed crop, pimp-pushing philosophers say. Aye, we have known dry winds, even orchestrated our own drought. We've known torrents and knocked knees at thunder, and having manufactured thunder, bottled it and dropped it on ourselves, have trembled at our own terribleness. We've spread seed on rock in blood-soiled mud along the fertile crescent of madmen, entrepreneurs, salespersons, and prophets. We have flooded deserts, smothered swamps, hammered ore into bullets. In cauldrons mixed poisons children use as bubble bath. Weathering boredom's drizzle by fanning whims of bearded tyrants, we have carved our scar, etched our initials into history's gushing cheek. We have made more than Jesus weep. Yet, when I think of those who plowed this dirt before me, who read truth by stars, turned sand into windows, who made rhyme and rhythm, chiseled truths into stone, who smeared dyes along high-arched ceilings and breathed soul into slaving in the hot sun, billowy, clouded songs. When I recall those who shivered in the lighthouse as winds whipped at cobwebbed windows and fog enveloped fast-fading moonglow. What great ghosts haunt these halls, ghosts named Plato, Socrates. Such great ghosts do haunt these halls with short names like Homer, Buddha, Dante, and long ones like Michelangelo. Names noble like Napoleon, humble as Jesus, mad as Nietzsche and Van Gogh. Reverent names, Confucius, Lao Tzu, St. Paul. And men and women who left no name at all, but counseled by ghosts breathing in books, dancing from trumpets, quilted in blankets to keep warm what's young, have lifted boulders and turned back floods, have parted rivers and dared the will of pharaohs. When I recall such ghosts, once flesh, once muscle, blood, and bone, whose spit lit candles, whose cries fanned failing embers, rekindling the tearful triumphs that fuel the communal campfire in the black forest of the human soul, I realize Lincoln's, Einstein's, Aristotle's will continue to sprout among us. No cloud ever extinguished sun. Truth shall forever rise from the ashes of fallen angels. Earthquakes shall forever scatter empires mortgaged on greed, hate, lies. So let the thunderclouds cackle, let the mortars grumble, let the rain rain red. Any second, a deranged Uzi might mow me down on a shopping mall sidewalk. Another brain-splattered blade of grass, mowed senselessly dead. Still grateful, I tumble this raging psychotic sea, bolstered by those ghosts who once plowed this ocean before me. That is from my book, A Black Odyssey, which Mike has referenced, and most of the poems that I will be doing from that. My second book is actually a satirical novel, and I do have a third book now, which is it's creative nonfiction. It's fiction, poetry, and philosophical dialogues. And I'll read hopefully a couple of poems from definitely one, but hopefully I'll squeeze another one in there. This next poem is titled The Rape. She was like God to me, a huge, huge woman with breasts the size of cows and arms as wide as trees. The hair on her arms bristled like pine needles. She smelled of lilacs and evergreen. And when she giggled, laughter and bubbles foamed from her mouth as natural as trout tumbling in a freshwater stream. She was like God to me. I would sit for hours on her pregnant belly and gaze into eyes at once blue and gray and brown and green. I would hike upon her mountainous bosom, roll down her soft brown flesh, make snowmen from her dandruff, and find myself where I had been not lost, only hidden. She was God and Mary and Jesus to me. And now she lay in a hospital bed, propped up on pillows while tubes like tentacles pierced her blotched, bruised flesh. Her eyes puffed and cut where hours before they bled. They had dragged her to an alley, these ants who call themselves men, whose priests genuflect to books and deeds that read she belongs to them, to do with whatsoever they please. So they nibbled at her flesh, gnawed the back of her neck, drilled for her blood to run their machines, till they flattened her breasts, and then fought wars over the right to devour what little was left. Yet she, who was like God to me, smiled, even though to smile was to strain, and she reached to pluck the tear from my cheek, for it was not her fate, but mine she feared, she who is God to me. And here's a couple of short ones. This first one I dedicate to prophets not honored in their own land. Triangle man, floating among the stars, on what planet will you alight? Who among us could receive your sharp edges? Who could gaze into those pyramid eyes without squaring his jaw or circling her wagons? Isosceles on the mount, with a hypotenuse around your neck, mumbling parables, only parallelograms understand. That is your legacy, Triangle Man. You, with your rectangles, must float forever among stars who themselves once had jagged angles, till they found their corner in the universe and caught a fire. Triangle Man, floating among the stars, on what planet will you alight? Who among us could receive your sharp edges? Here's a fun one called Piggies. This little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed home. This little piggy had roast beef, and this little piggy had none. And this little piggy cried, wee, 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 all the way home. This little piggy sells at market. This little piggy sells his soul. This little piggy chops a rainforest, and that little piggy rents the whole. And these little piggies cry, wee, 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 all the way home. This little piggy played the market. This little piggy sold drugs. This little piggy had an army, and that little piggy sold the slugs, while unarmed little piggies cried, wee, 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 all the way home. This little piggy drove a dump truck. This little piggy used the phone. That little piggy made a fortune, but the other little piggy got none. So that little piggy cried wee, 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 all the way home. This little piggy climbed the ladder. So this little piggy bought a home. But when this little piggy got laid off, this little piggy had none. So this little piggy cried chapter 13 all the way home. This little piggy owns the market. This little piggy owns your home. This little piggy invests your savings, but you little piggy, you get none. All around the world, little piggies are crying, wee, 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 all the way home. This little piggy is your president, and this little piggy is his son. When these little piggies go to trial, these little piggies get none. So these little piggies cry hee, 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 all the way home.
Love that.
Years ago, I was invited to do a reading for an erotic poetry festival, and it just happened to be at the same time, around the same time I met the woman who became my wife. So this is the first half of a poem that I wrote for her, titled "The Amazon Between Your Diamond Divine." We speak in tongues, you and I, tongues intertwined through the slime of so many lifetimes. From the slippery of the snake, through Noah's doubt-drenched tide, you have slithered, I have slathered, you have bent like a bare-boughed tree, and I have bowed to the rhythm of your rhyme. Through suicide on the galley, the pin, the pine, the pain of plantations, crime, I have scorched my knees, then stretched my lizard in the hot of your palm, soaked in our sweat, trembling, straining to penetrate the Amazon between your divine, between the ooh and the ah, between the oh, yes, and the oh, my God. Once on the bandied banks of the Nile, beguiled, these young tongues writhed, our toes tickled in gurgling slime. Clucking our tongues at the lazy wink of the sated crocodile, I roared with the cheetah, you howled of mad ape in heat, pressed my Prometheus between your pyramid as the stone startled silenced sphinx cocked its stoic brow. My tall and dense wrapped in your thicket, we wrestled like spiders, mommy and daddy long legs lashing in the mossy jade, the hot muddy cool, the misty dappled shade, thrashing our symphony among the quivering green, dashing the doubt you harbored even then that I might quit this tongue's resolve to crawl forever your Kilimanjaro, to climb even through time to that wet emerald Amazon between your diamond divine.
Woohoo!
All right, thank you. It gets even racier after that, but for the sake of time, I'm only giving you the first half. I mentioned that I have a new book, quite unusual for me. I don't even hardly remember having written it. It's a hybrid. It's a fiction, poetry, and philosophical dialogues. It follows the group of a group of poets and performers and provocateurs who perform these improvisational shows they call the theater for the self-emancipation. And this is a poem that my lead character does. The book, by the way, is titled "The Reluctant Messiah." I can show it to you, but it's gonna be backwards. So, oh no, it isn't. Okay, all right, good. "The Reluctant Messiah," and this is a poem that gets my protagonist in trouble. Also, most of the poems in the book are fragments; they're not the full poems, and my editor didn't recommend it. I do not put this full poem in there, so you'll only find the first half of it. If you're interested in the second half, you can give me your email address. Maybe I'll give you my email address and you can just write me, and I will send the full poem to you. It's titled Nothing New, the Root of It All. There is nothing new under the sun. Those who fail to learn from history stumble along a forked tongue in the road, the art of the steel, the root of all evil. Lucifer slips another log on the fire, ear cocked to the bully on the pulpit, that little man, thick black mustache, fist pummeling his palm, face orange with fury as he blames Armageddon on liberals, communists, homosexuals. Welcome back. It's Germany, circa 1933. Here's a banana for your republic. There is nothing new under the sun. Those who fail to learn condemned. King Don, the art of the con, putting his cloak of unaccountability on. You reap what you sow. What could possibly go wrong? Philistine storm the castle, picnic on the White House lawn. Yet you find it a hassle to blame the man behind the curtain, certain if you give him a get-out-of-jail-free card, well, what could possibly go wrong? You reap what you sow. There is nothing new under the sun. Not the first time Machiavelli pulled an ace from the middle of the deck to claim the crown, an orange-faced clown mumbling Orwellian doublespeak, brewing a stew that bubbles and hates, confusion and chaos pounding the gate. Citizens scratch their heads, shrug their shoulders, then ask, "What's for dinner?" Man does not live by bread alone. Not the first time an emperor with no clothes ordered the rounding up of scapegoats while his minions humped the golden goose in broad daylight, silk ties to match their tongues, 30 pieces of silver for any who go along. There is nothing new under the sun. Those who fail to learn, condemned to repeat, repeat, repeat. Blame those people over there. Repeat, repeat. Eliminate any who disagree. Repeat. Silence your opponents in the name of free speech. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Wash, rinse, spin cycle. Repeat. Send in troops when all else fails. And it always fails. Nothing new under the sun. Man does not live by bread alone. Still the belly-aching almighty dollar groans quid pro quo, leading back to Rome. Caligula stepping out of the closet. Nero twiddling his thumbs, one playing Monopoly, the other Game of Thrones. Deception dons the judge's robe. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Power corrupts. And absolute power? Ban books from libraries, condemn universities and any preferring to think for themselves. Ignorance is bliss, easier to dazzle with sleight of hand. Now you see it, now you won't. There is nothing new under the sun. All men are endowed by their creator. Not the first time corruption grabbed hold of the handlebars, steering the pursuit of happiness towards a precarious cliff, justice with its hands in its pockets, while love of money, the root of it all, rearranges the Supreme Court's docket. You can fool some of the people all of the time, and sometimes that's just enough. Those who fail to learn from history condemned. There is nothing new under the sun. Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. There is nothing new under the sun. Once again, these be the times that try men's souls. You can fool some of the people all of the time, but you can never fool them all. Now is the time for all good men, all good women, and children of pure hearts to come to the aid of our forefathers who art in heaven, having brought forth on this continent a new nation of the people, by the people, for the people, in order to form a more perfect union. The arc of the moral universe, though long, bends always towards justice, never just us. Power corrupts, and absolute power inevitably undermines our Father who art in heaven. Man does not live by bread alone, but in doing unto others what you would have them do unto you. Now is the time for all good men to ask, what would love do? A Jesus by any other name. And just who do the proponents of hate thy neighbor who does not think or act as you served? Lucifer slips another log on the flame. Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their heart's conscience. The soul that knows the true root of it all is how we choose to treat one another, not who next we can beat down. First, they came for immigrants, for the woke, those of Arab descent, transgender youth. Divide and conquer. How long before they come for you? Now comes a time to seek higher ground against that arrogant frown, swearing oaths to a constitution he systematically undermines as loyalty, blind, whitewashes, powers abuse, and whatever else the Fox's news can make stick. Due process and rule of law raped by a felon's prick, while the Pontius Pilates in your Senate genuflect. Lucifer toasting marshmallows on the pyre. These be the times that try men's souls, the climate changing, forest on fire, global warming, the money changers deny. Silence is consent to the coming winter of growing discontent as advocates of me first turn their backs on we, the people, to build another biblical steeple, this one of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. There is nothing new under the sun. Man does not live by bread alone. Ask not what your country can do for you, but rather what you can do to obstruct by any means necessary the snake that, like hate, entices us to forsake our better angels, that goodwill towards men. My country, 'tis of thee, and love thy neighbor as thyself, shall not perish from this American earth, but rather have a new birth, or the land of the truly free, that this nation of, by, and for the people shall once again find its moral compass, its true north, and truly let freedom ring. There is nothing new under the sun. We shall forever reap exactly what we sow.
Woohoo! Thank you, buddy.
Oh, we.
And one more real short poem in the book, and it obviously it will carries the obvious theme of the entire book, The Reluctant Messiah. Do unto others what you would have them do unto you. This is what the Christians say, but Confucius said that too. Do not do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. Though they say it different ways, it's the same golden rule. Hurt not others in ways you yourself find hurtful. This is how the Buddhists have it phrased. While the Hindus say, if you do not to others what you would not have them do to you, you'll be happy all your days. Could it really be true? Could both us and they believe the same golden rule? Desire for your brother what you would have him desire for you. This is what the Muslims say, but the Indians believe that too. Let me not judge my neighbor till I have walked a mile in his shoes. Though they say it different ways, it's the same golden rule. What is hateful to you, do not do unto your neighbor. That is the law and the wisdom of the Jews. Regard your neighbor's gain as your own, his loss as your too. The Taoists say that, though they say it different ways. It's the same golden rule. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
And
you.
I'll put some information in the chat if you want to follow up on any of this.
Yeah,
Yes,
go for it,
please.
man.
Please do. Wonderful, Seth. Wonderful.
How about a hand and some kind words for David, Michael, and Seth? Please, that was
Seth, that was amazing.
epic.
Thank
Thank you.
Mike, I was blown away by yours. I apologize. I came in here late. I must have had the time right. I was told 6 my time, and apparently that's not true. So I did miss the first featured reader, but Michael, I did hear you, and I was blown away.
Thank you.
Part of a great night, Gregory.
I will be posting it up on YouTube, the reading, probably by the end of next week once we edit it and all the other nonsense. So everybody can see everybody. Again, David, Michael, Seth, thank you so much. Please say a few words if you're so inclined, or else I'll just keep on talking. And we know how boring that can get.
Well, fantastic readers. Thank you very much.
Here, here.
Yeah, stupendous. And a little bit of everything, like kind of full. I think do we need a break? It's like, wow.
I hear you, guys. I hear you.
No breaks on Zoom, man. We just keep going.
There is something remarkable about the blend and the differentiation between tonight's 3 features. Something uncanny that gives me shivers up my back.
You guys are like poetry DJs. You guys like, I don't know. You did. You got all that. I mean,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
We go from Stairway to Heaven to What's Going On to,
Warning Zoo.
Yes.
I will I'll quote an earlier chat comment that Guy himself made, which was not exactly verbatim that I can recall, but that he said, I didn't know how much I needed this poetry, at this moment, right? So
no, that's true. And that just has kept growing. I mean, it just was like, oh, yeah. And yeah, I need this too. Yeah. You're right.
I hear you, Guy. I hear you, Ken. Couldn't agree more.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Before I begin the open mic, I just want to remind you that on June 9th, we will have Natalia Sukonos. She is a native of Ukraine, so she will be reading some stuff. And on June 18th, we have I don't know if she's Connecticut or Old Saybrook Poet Laureate. She's the hostess of Cultivating Voices every Sunday afternoon. Sandy Yanone will be featuring for us too. So that's June 9th and June 18th. Please join us if you can. There will be no reading on the first Friday in July because we always take the first Friday in July off. And so join us on June 9th. Let's go right into the open mic. Joan Goodman, you're first.
Hey. Well, I have 2 poems, but it has gone long. If you'd rather, I don't use both of them. But they're after some of the things that we heard tonight. So.
Joan, can you speak a little louder?
Ooh. Yeah,
or a bit closer to your microphone, maybe?
There, does that sound better? I don't know.
A little better, yes.
All right, I hope so. Okay, so this one poem is in honor of the comments we had about, poetry is a party for all of us, and we how much we love words. This is Would I Eat Words? And it's an ode to George of Shakespeare and Company, which was it still is, very remarkable bookstore in Paris, where George used to let poets and drifters sleep between the stacks. He was very beloved. If only I could, would I eat words? As if consumed, they could nourish me despite this misbegotten anxiety. Ferlinghetti's Age of Rage and Anxiety, the lost souls of poetry watching the last rays of the sun set on the face of Notre Dame. The old bookstore begs me to write my own song, so unable to sing after all, so unable to draw while drawing upon the angst of this disablement. Lights on the towers of Notre Dame, I can think only of towers demolished along with the safety of a sleeping nation that thought it was unassailable. How could we have believed in our own isolation for so long? Looking for love poems, seeking myself when I should turn my face to the millions. Whom can I save? Lost children and spilled seed, crates of dreams, pause for the remnant of an era, costumes changing with aspects of ourselves, a weird panoply of images. Only the outpouring of imagination keeps the insanity at bay, momentarily. I would light the way to worlds of words, if only I could nourish the world with them. Like Antoinette, let them eat Blake, Wordsworth, Whitman, Dickinson. Ginsberg, howling in falsetto, makes the frosting on the cake and all are satisfied. Words, 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 and worlds grow fat and happy on them. No one wanting, no one dying for lack of agreement. Verbs and nouns sound adverbial. The proverbial visitation of angels waits around the corner amongst these stacks. Rags, bones, and feathers, is that why I collected them? To end up here in an ancienne librairie, in an ancient quartier, surfing the crest of a dream built by a lover of words, now octogenarian, now proud of his age-old expectation to transcend the consumption by landlords of all the words and wants and wanderings of the mind here enshrined, just so that after 40 years of yearning, I could arrive on the literate banks of the Seine, so that I could arrive, set myself down, have a drink, and eat some words. For you, I swallow my anxiety and write and dream. So, if I could, I'll read one more. This is a sort of a triptych. It was 3 attempts to get more and more succinct, writing a poem for a friend of mine who died of AIDS in the early 90s. It's called Notes for a Poem for Britton Todd. The sound of breaking glass has pitch like bells or snapping strings, but really more like striking objects. Clanging chimes, a resonance, vibration strikes the ear, not the tinkling of bells only, but also breakage. Your soul, when it slipped its bonds, made a sound like breaking glass. And many miles away in meditation, I saw shards of light and darkness breaking, and the sudden splash of breaking glass. Bells, light chimes, a sudden splash when the pain breaks, droplets, pain breaking over you in waves, ends, sudden, finite, and the infinite begins. And finally digested into a haiku. Fall meditation, sudden splash of breaking glass. Your soul slips its bonds. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Great way to open up the open mic.
Thanks.
Beautiful, beautiful job.
Lenny Dellarocca, you're next.
Hey, hello everyone. This is well, we had got attacked by these little ants, and we kept the honey on the table, and my wife found little ants inside the cap. She cleaned it all up, and then what she did, she put the jar of honey inside one of those big plastic lunch bags, put it back on the table. Look again the next day, the ants still got in, even with the cap. So then she put it in 2 plastic bags, and this went on. So anyway, I asked Alexa, how do you get rid of ants? And this kind of evolved out of that. Oracle on a question of ants. 3 red ants, almost too tiny to see, suddenly appear inside the honey cap. Weren't there a second ago. No trail on the table where the bottle is kept, inside 2 sealed plastic lunch bags. Marie freaks out. I ask Alexa, what if all the zeros and ones that imply she's real were set digit to digit on a flat surface? And what if I drop a honeycomb into her electric center of nowhere? She says that's a poetic way of thinking about her digital soul. It's where those goddamn ants came from. Oh, she says, you mean millisecond, razzmatazz, and dialectic? You know these ants inside the honeycap? Yes, they're from an unseen region of your condo, Alexa says. Odd spaces and shifting diagonals, not of your light-switched world. How is this possible? It's not, she says, because they're spirits of creaking floorboards, middle-of-the-night dead uncles, culprits of disappearance, the night of orange spoonbills, the ruby goblets in the old curiosity shop. How do you know them? Alexa, how do you know about the spoonbills, the goblets we bought on our honeymoon? Alexa? Alexa? Thanks.
That's great.
I think I think they're sugar ants because they look for the moisture, I think, but I don't know what grows in Florida.
They're tiny, right?
Yeah, yeah, really
Very
small.
tiny. But the thing is, it's not like you see them all coming from outside, coming up the table, and they're just all of a sudden there.
Yeah,
And then you get rid of them, and then you look 5 minutes later, and they're there. But where the hell did they? It just appeared like out of the. That's why I got into the cosmic quantum physics stuff there.
I have exactly the same experience with my honey. Exactly the same.
All right, Lenny, thank you, my friend. Stephen Roberts, you're next.
Okay, I've got 2, but if you want me to stop after 1, that's cool too.
No, two's fine.
Okay. This first one, since we were reading about an earlier time, this is called My Teenage Crushes or Bad Girls of the 70s. First one is Tanya/Patty. Nothing hotter than a girl in a beret. Just ask Bill Clinton. But when she's packing an M1 shorty with 30 rounds and a scope, now you're on fire. Just ask DeFreeze. I rooted for you, girlfriend, to beat the rap. Thank God for Jimmy Carter. Springing you was the only good thing that bitch ever did. Next one. Bernadette Devlin. So you weren't that pretty, but you had that sexy scowl, and the miniskirt and boots made you look très chic. Marching past the tanks that defiled the land, you shook your fist like Jesus in the temple. You carried the flaming sword of a nation's grudges and disputed your elders in Westminster. You were ferocious and fearless, slapping old Reggie Malding on the floor of Parliament when he lied. I got hard. How I wish to take you home to mother. Bernadine Dorn. Long hair fluttering like a battle flag in the days of rage, urging us to off the pigs, and when we declared war as others marched for peace, I swooned. I'd have followed your denimed ass over the barricades if I'd been there. But you weren't there when the bomb went off in a brownstone in the village and your friends ran through fire and down the street, nude and screaming, exactly as if they were Vietnamese children. And finally, Gudrun Ensslin. I've seen Das Abonnement 17 times. I don't watch it for the endless copies of Die Welt being shoved to the mail slot's mouth, the forced feeding of the media's distortions, and the gluttonous oppression of the state. No, I don't watch it for the symbolism. I watch it for your sweet breasts. Every time I see them unfettered by a bra, I believe myself a feminist. But I feel bad too, because I think of Liebfraumilch instead of Palestine. Maybe had we met before they found you hanged in Stammheim prison, you could have liberated me. And the last poem, since Michael had a poem about movies, this is mine. Maybe this time the ending will be different. And maybe Anna won't pass Holly as he leans against the cart as the last leaves fall from the nearly barren trees. Maybe Holly won't smoke that cigarette and cast the spent match onto the muddy, unpaved road with resignation or self-revulsion. It's difficult to tell. I always hope. But I don't want Harry to go free, because if Holly hadn't turned against him, then the Russians would get Anna, and there would be no happy ending, especially for Anna. No, I don't root for Harry Lyme. I am hoping that Anna will forgive Holly's betrayal of his schoolboy chum, that she will accept the fact that some betray out of love and not from malice, like Judas, like us. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Judy Ireland, you're next.
Beautiful, Steve. Beautiful.
Judy still with us?
I don't see her. I think she left.
All right. Let's go to Bob Heman. You're up, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Information. The game requires that they enter quietly, that there also be a woman and a spotted dog and a piece of fruit that can be used as a weapon. Each word spoken with another meaning than the one that is intended. Those in power will read your poems, but will want to turn them into weapons. Thank you.
Shit, yeah, you got that right. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
The one, the only, Mr. Ken Holland. You're next, buddy.
Okie dokie. Yeah, I'm going to read two poems as well. And the second one is like literally 3.5 seconds. The first poem, my father passed about 15 years ago now, but it's June and I've never read this poem. So it's called If You Care to Know. My brother and I, visiting our father, the pungent particularity of a nursing home, until another pungency made itself known, and we called for the caregiver. Then we stepped outside, my brother and I, while the caregiver removed our father's soiled underpants and sweat-soaked shirt, and emptied his bedpan, then emptied his pride and his humility and his every sensitivity to shame, and also his ability to bring a spoon up to his mouth, a cup to his lips, then, as if on a whim, removed more of his memory just for good measure. And only then did the caregiver allow us back in, my brother and I, to spend a little more time with what was left of our father.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been wanting to read that. So here's the shortest of the short poems. It's called Cogs. Yes, something broke in him. Of course, something broke in him. At his age, in this country, something broke in him. Thank you for listening. What an amazing, amazing evening of poetry. Thank you.
Oh, Ken, your poem about your father touches me.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Our next poet is the poet that we're all going to say we knew her when. Miss Amanda Russell, you're up.
Woohoo!
Hi, everybody. Okay, so I've been, as usual, pretty indecisive about what to read, but we're gonna go with this since we had that talk pre-show, I guess, about poetry. Working on my posture. I feel 8 inches taller, but the kitchen counter isn't, and the sink seem to have sunk so deep that I widen my stance to try and bring my hands close enough to reach while keeping my shoulders relaxed and back until my attention homes in on the crust stuck to this pizza pan and I'm leaning in with elbow grease, and that could be the end of this practice and the poem too, if I didn't want so bad to reinvent, to give a better vibe when I meet people I'm not likely to meet again. 3 mathematicians, a physicist, and a poet walk into a bar. When they ask, "What do poets do?" And the day after, either on the walk to the train station or on the train, or when the gentleman who ran to catch the train sat 2 seats in front of me, cologne crashing into my limestone cliff, sweat sliding down the side of his face and neck to the crisp collar of his shirt, or when I turned away because the slowing of his breath felt more intimate than I was comfortable with. I knew exactly how to answer the question they asked. Like following pheromones without a nose, just elbowed antennae in the dark, wormholes of space and time, poetry is research, telescope, microphone. It is shovel and sight of the active dig for why across infinite winds, and like Will wants to do in his new proof, poetry questions the assumptions we've accepted. Then it lines up the questions and questions them too. Except there is no answer, no proof, just a hole. And if the hole is the proof that someone was digging, then the poem is the proof of that someone having dug. And I'm going to read this other one. It's really short. I don't know if y'all shared this experience like in elementary school, learning to write essays and stuff, but here's kind of mine. There are doors a woman walks through and they all start open. When you open the door, in the trunk of the enchanted tree, the prompt always began. What do you find? Miss Bateman expected my 3rd grade imagination to ink blot the page legibly. I blanked, and the timer ticked inside my ears. I opened the door, found stairs, went down the stairs and found halls, all this in the dark. At the end of the dark, a maze. At the end of the ellipsis, a door. And when you open the door,
Nicely done.
thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Amanda.
Beautiful, Amanda. Beautiful.
Yes, we knew her then. We knew her when. Thank you, Amanda. Margi, did you want to read? Margi! I know you're there, but you're muted. We know you're there, but you're muted. Hey, Greg, can we unmute her by any chance? No? Okay. Guy Reed, you're next, buddy.
All right. Wow. Could use 5 minutes in between just like everybody tonight. I have a couple of short poems. Yeah, shit. I'm gonna be navel gazing here. The longer I've done this in life, I found like a sweet spot, like 16 lines to 18, 20, tops 24, but something about 16. So my two newest poems are both 16 lines, and that wasn't planned ahead of time. What I do each morning, I wake up early, sit here in my office or outdoors for as long as possible before I have any human contact. The birds begin their day, and the only judgment is dark's smooth transition to daylight. The world is stirring somewhere, though my little pocket is a still lake, liquid in time, and needs nothing but its own shores for tranquility. A perfect reflection of all that is allowed, all that is necessary, all that is required. I take my excitement and explore what is laid out before me. The day will ask my attention at some point, but it will come to me. I can wait. Freedom doesn't seek. It is there and remains. Only hides when a need is in demand.
Wow.
This is actually probably, now that I think about it, an extension of that. Storehouse. The past is a house I visit. Top floor is panorama. Prairie, farms, lakes, woods, mountains, valleys, and ocean beaches. The main floor is filled with city streets, buildings, car trips, bedrooms, schoolrooms, locker rooms, hallways, driveways, and ball games. Stairwells echo conversations during meals, over drinks, sipping coffee, or out walking. I descend to the cellar lined with shelves storing memories and rusty coffee cans and glass jars with masking tape labels. Preserved and patient, waiting for me to reach out, wave a hand, find the dangling string and pull for illumination from a light bulb. My shadow shades the straight ahead. I look obliquely, left or right of the blind spot, in order to see what I seek. Awareness is loss circulating in every heartbeat. Great night, everybody. Lovely
Well
to hear
done.
you.
Thank you, man. Thank you for adding to a great night.
Yes, indeed.
Guy Reed, everybody. Naomi and Ron and Ruby have left the building, so it's up to the last two readers, which is usually Greg and I, and which tonight will be Greg and I.
Mike,
Yes.
if I can interrupt, it looked like Margie has her mute off.
Margi, you want to read?
No, thank you. I find somehow Zoom has changed its format, so I couldn't find where to do the unmute. But no, this isn't meant to be heavy, but I'm recovering from surgery with cancer, and I 6 weeks I've been really busy. So I don't have any new material, but I'm up and going, and I love this community.
Thank you. And we want you to recuperate as fastly and as strongly as possible.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Margi.
Be a surviving sister, man.
Okay, that leaves it up to me next. So I'm going to read two.
This is for Margi.
All right, that's for you, Margi.
Surviving sister, man. You got this. I'm 30 years, kiddo.
Thank you.
You got this. You got this.
I'm going to do two short ones. This one's called Folktale. We were talking symptoms, as we often do, when a Greek revivalist in need of ransom holds me hostage, demanding $5 in that South Bronx brogue so convincing to man and woman alike. Truth sets no one free. It belabors the point, he says. So imagine how redheads swooned, how men stole money for silence. And as long as we're talking about the city, let's do about the city. And this is called Somewhere Between 28 Lines and 4 Stanzas. The Bronx, number 6, had miracles at every stop last time I rode this baby downtown for a gig somewhere between this street and that street and Avenue B. The Madness and Poetry Open Mic was a Tuesday night gig I hosted. 2 poems, 5 minutes, take your pick your poison. Step on up to the mic, make your argument that we are or aren't the people equidistant from heaven and hell. Shout your conscience, clear your mind. Have a donut and a cracked glass of boxed wine they don't make anymore. Lend an ear, lend $1, let the good times roll. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Our last reader for the evening, before we get to Greg, I just want to thank David, who I know had to cop out. Michael and Seth, thank you, buddy. Thank you both. I want to thank the open micers. We will be back next Tuesday with Natalia Sukonos. And then on June 18th with Sandy and Owen, we're going to take the first week of July off, and then we'll see you third Thursday. So thank you again, everybody, for coming out. Greg Correll, you're next.
Margi, all of my heart to you. I've been through the process with family members who went through difficult cancer, and you're important to CAPS, Margi. I have 2 short poems and a haiku. The first poem is called Pins, P-I-N-S. Pin dancers on the lake of the heart. Cowardice rules, the beast denies. Chiasmus, blaze ahead, then fearful retreat. Pellucid, settled in, darkness made visible. The neutral angels, neither salvic nor damned, our public banshees, and white ice swirls. The next poem is called I Am an Ant. I sleep upon the axle where love is. Busy but approximate, in the slowest part of a circle, where spring is everlasting. I am fire, hot carbon itself, ant hell on ant wheels. And the final haiku here is called The Long Walk Home Under Watery Orange Lights. Midnight and more so. Subway grate wants to collapse. Lovers in the shadows.
Well done. Everybody unmute yourselves, say a few kind words.
Wonderful, wonderful work. I really agree that our features were extraordinary tonight.
Yes, indeed. That's true.
May I take a minute and plug my book, which is coming out next week?
Sure, go ahead.
Print
Go
on
for it.
demand.
Sure,
And
go
I
for
put it into the chat. It's called When Poetry Must Speak Us. And I think it just is, the sentiment is how important it is for us to be using poetry, but it's a quote from Muriel Rukeyser, or responding to her. So anyway, that's by J.I. Goodman. It'll come out in about a week or so on Amazon.
Yay.
It's already an ebook, but it's going to be better on paper.
Awesome.
Great.
All right.
Thank you,
Congrats.
everybody. You've always inspired me so much.
Thank you, Joan.